All right, the 2008 Mercedes E63 AMG sedan. Let's get started with really one of my personal favorites. Growing up, I really dig this car. I love the way it looks. In fact, I still like the way it looks. But who do we have to thank for this opportunity? It is none other than European Performance in Raleigh, North Carolina. So if you are interested in purchasing this bad boy, perhaps even with a warranty, which I would highly suggest, you may do so. I will leave all their dealership information in the description box, but let's go ahead. Let's get started here with this review. All right, the E63. This is a pretty damn powerful car, especially for its time. This is a 6.2 liter naturally aspirated hand-built V8 engine, produces 507 horsepower and 465 pounds-feet of torque. That's some healthy numbers right there. And as you know, in this society that we're living in, these Mercedes AMG products, these V8s, they're pretty sought after actually, and a lot of these AMG products are selling for over sticker price today. So this is one of the more affordable ways of getting your hands on a vehicle like this. That's certainly potent, that's for sure. And 0 to 60 was around 4.3 seconds, I believe, and 180 mile per hour top speed, but it was limited to 155 for the United States. You also have a 7-speed automatic transmission here. Now, some of the little maintenance items you might want to keep in mind, this vehicle does have 110,000 miles on it, so it's been around the block. Anyway, some of the things I think you may or may not detect some rough shifting with some mileage on these cars on the 7-speed automatics. You can also run into some drive shaft issues where it might start cracking on you if you're doing some drag racing or whatever. Air suspension leaks and just in general air suspension issues. This vehicle is also fitted with the air ride. Like my master technician Dave Garcia told me, if you really keep up with the maintenance on these cars, they will treat you pretty good, honestly. So you just got to keep up with it. That's about it. Otherwise, you can enjoy this car, buy a warranty for it, you should be okay. Now let's kind of move on into some of these driving aspects. So we have multi-link suspension both in the front and the rear. We got 18-inch wheels on it, wrapped in 245 wide tires in the front and 265s in the rear. These are the Continental Extreme Sport contact tires, the summer tires. So you got some very good tires on here, and the grip should be incredible for a vehicle like this. And we also have 18-inch wheels, so I like that it's smaller wheels. That means a lower cost for the tires when you go to replace them, so that's pretty good. We also have some paddles to kind of play with here. They'll just auto upshifts for me. All right, well, paddle shifters, no real point in playing with those, that's for sure. Just leave it in the automatic mode and just floor it. That's really the best thing, because it just feels way too clumsy in the manual modes, because it's an older automatic transmission, and the older automatics they just weren't really the best in terms of the performance. But you just leave it in auto, it's perfectly fine. The vehicle does ride beautifully. Some people, they complain about the electronic brakes on this. However, I don't have an issue with it. It feels very progressive to me and stops really well. These vehicles, they tend to weigh around 4,000 pounds, so not a bad weight figure considering the amount of horsepower that it produces. Some may even look at this as the original Hellcat, right? 507 versus the 707 that we find in the new Hellcats. I think Car and Driver at the time, they did a comparison with the 2011, 2012 Dodge Charger SRT8s, because that was a brand new car, and they were comparing it to a certified pre-owned 08 E63 like you see here, because back then it was a little bit newer. It was like certified with around 40,000 miles on it, right? That's what they were comparing it to versus a new Charger. And this is, till this day, this is the classy option, right? You pull up in this with the little Benz logo sticking up in front of the hood there. This looks like something. It still has a certain presence to it that I really appreciate. It was like, what, 85 grand when it was new, and most importantly, what you want to know is, does it feel fast? And yeah, it does. Till this day, it feels very quick. It feels very effortless. Gets off the line perfectly. Like, there's no drama with it. There's no issues with it. And again, I'll test out some more of this handling here in a little bit. But I like the way it sticks. I like the way it goes. The only real deficiency I'm really noticing with this entire experience is the slightly antiquated transmission. However, I'm loving the engine. In fact, if I purchased this, I would like to even put an exhaust on it, make it slightly louder, you know, nothing too crazy. Let's see what we have here, of course. Yeah, this thing definitely sticks really well to the road. I do appreciate that. There's a good agility to it. You know exactly what this car is doing despite the high horsepower and the torque. Because it's naturally aspirated, it puts down its power in a very predictable manner, but you also never feel like you're ever going to lose control of this car. A lot of it has to do with the super sticky tires that this car has to offer, and despite this being a summer tire, because it's the Continental summer tire, these are very quiet still. It almost kind of behaves like a all-season tire, if you will. The seating position is great. You know, you have great visibility out of this vehicle. You have a large rear view mirror, and it's just a very easy car to drive. Feels light and nimble, surprisingly. I know it's around 4,000 pounds, but it feels like a vehicle that weighs like 3,500 pounds. And it is quiet. It does pull off the dual personality extremely well. It's really refined, quiet. There's no use of double pane glass. However, there's not a lot of tire noise, wind noise, nothing like that. It feels like a rather well-built machine for the most part. Even with this type of mileage and vintage, it's holding up extremely well. Yeah, just a slight lag, but it certainly gives you what you need. And damn, it's just like this car is so refined that it kind of masks the speed from you, but you are rapidly approaching some serious speeds in this vehicle, that is for sure. It's quick, I'll give it that. It's not absolutely gut-wrenching. It's just like you really notice how quickly the landscape is kind of running past you when you floor it in this vehicle. It's a really surreal experience. I do enjoy driving this car. It's a quality machine from a driving perspective. Just put it in auto and just floor it, man. So with that, let's go ahead and let's transition over into the interior segment now. All right, so you join me inside of the E63 AMG. Let's get started with the interior. So we have the black interior here with this kind of interesting olive greenish brown kind of wood going around here. And you know what? There's some pros and there's some cons to this, as you may expect, right? First of all, when you kind of get in and out of this vehicle and you kind of shut the door, the doors, everything about it has a nice bank vault feeling to it. It feels solid when you close the doors, and I mean, this overall car feels solid when you drive. It has a very good chassis control to it. Feels solid, feels well built, and there's no real crazy body roll with it, right? So I'm glad that also kind of translates into the interior just a bit. However, there are other portions of the interior that haven't aged quite as well, like the center console kind of creaks a little bit. Granted, this vehicle has been sitting out in the sun for a little bit, but overall, there are certain aspects of solidity here. You know, I've driven things like the SL 550, right, of this vintage, as well as some other Mercedes-Benz products like the S classes, and it's kind of the same story. Certain aspects are really solid and others are not, but as a whole, it's really not bad for the price and the mileage. I like this gear lever. It's very smooth, and that's also where you have the start-stop button, which is very cool. I really appreciate that. You have your air ride controls. You can also select your little manual sport controls right here next to the gear shifter. However, it's really a waste of time. Just put it into the automatic mode and just floor it and enjoy it that way. You have one-touch up and down windows for all four windows here, which is always a great thing to see. You have this really nice suede headlining material. This is also going to help quiet the vehicle down a little bit. It's going to help absorb some sounds. But the other kind of con that I've noticed is with the sun visors here. They're kind of loose and peeled out a little bit, so you have to kind of re-glue it, reattach it. But outside of that, I really like this headliner. You also have this dual sunroof thing going on here for the front as well as in the rear. Fully electronic seats for the front two seats here with memory, and you have your mirror controls, and you have great visibility, as I already mentioned. Automatic headlights. Gauge cluster is really rather interesting. There's a freaking clock in there. When I first saw it, I was like, what the hell is that? You know, I was like, what kind of a tachometer is that? But then I realized the tachometer is on the right and this is a clock. So a very interesting place to put a clock. You also have your fuel meter here, and this car should be getting like 12 in the city and 19 on the highway, so it's a pretty dirty automobile. just keep that in mind. Fuel costs are, you know, going to be a little bit higher with this, and obviously you should be using premium fuel. Got yourself a little infotainment screen here. However, it's not a touch screen. You have to use little buttons on the side here to navigate through this, and it can be a bit cumbersome at first, but you'll get used to it. And the Harman Kardon sound system that they put in here actually sounds pretty decent for its time. You have a fully separated climate control function here on the top of the dash, which I really like. Works perfectly, and everything works perfectly in here. You also have heated and cooled seats for the front 2 seats, and that also works. You have an electronic sunshade here, just for the rear windshield. And the center console, it doesn't really have too much space. You have this little retracting wooden panel here, and this kind of reveals your 2 cup holders, and you have a bit of storage in the back here as well. And the glove box is also a bit tight in here as well. You can put a few things in there, not much. Small storage here for some coins or something, but mainly this is a rather comfortable interior space. I mean, you have the electronic seats here, you have excellent bolstering with these AMG seats, but you can still fit larger individuals in here. That's the good thing about these seats. Let's go ahead and let's move on into those rear seats. So I'm 5'11". Getting in and out of this vehicle is rather easy, but the rear legroom is not quite as advantageous. Even the brand new 2021 E-Class that I've tested does not have like a plethora of rear legroom. It's actually kind of tight in the back. So this is about the same as the new ones, except maybe even slightly larger, surprisingly. I don't know what's up with that, but I can easily fit behind myself. The seats continue to be very comfortable, and the seats have aged really well too. I forgot to mention that. There's not too much crazy wrinkling or anything going on here. Headroom is great. The trunk space is massive. You also have a spare tire back there as well, and you can even fold down the rear seats. So despite it being a rear-wheel drive car, you can still fold down the rear seats. It gives you a lot of practicality. I always love it when a sedan is able to fold down its rear seats. So that's great to see. So overall conclusions, man, I mean, you buy it at the right price with the warranty. This car can be fun, can be a cool daily commuter. I know a guy, I think he did some crazy modifications to his E63 of the same year, and he's, I don't know, he's pulling out like what, 700, 800 horsepower out of that thing. So, you know, you can have a lot of fun with it. You can kind of build this thing up, but I would just keep it stock, enjoy it like this, maybe put like an exhaust on it or something like that. But outside of that, I wouldn't really screw with it too much. Again, just keep up with the maintenance, and the car drives great. The only real con I could find with it is the transmission. You could put in the sport modes and everything, but just keep in mind, it's a more antiquated transmission setup. The car is quick though. You are getting a very fast machine here. It's going to be dusting even some brand new vehicles. It's a lot of horsepower and good practicality. Just fix a couple of things like these little sun visors here and get the warranty, and you should be good to go. So I will leave all of European Performance's information down in the description box. In fact, they also service European cars here as well. So thanks again for watching. Take care and goodbye.